Live.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Remote Possibilities. I re-invited a really favorite guest of mine, a super dear co-creator, colleague of awesome, Zhanna Shpits. Hi, Zhanna. So nice to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for
Yes,
having me on your
yes.
show.
So
Yes,
I want to introduce you briefly and then give the topic. So I felt called to invite you again because you run a super soulful, magical mastermind. And I found the topic masterminds has been so crucial to my success. That I wanted to make an episode specifically talking about masterminding and having a discussion with you of how that can be beneficial to grow your dream business, to empower you from within, all those good things. So that's a topic. And now, for those of you who haven't met Zhanna yet, I want to introduce you from my heart and then I'll let you fill in the blanks.
thank
So,
you.
Zhanna is a super soulful impactpreneur. She has an amazing voice, a healing voice, where I see that she will literally change the world through her voice. She runs a TV show all about empowering children of all ages to live their dream and step into their power. And she also coaches and has a mastermind and is currently expanding the mastermind. And I'm actually in her pilot mastermind and I've benefited so big. So, Zhanna, do you want to say a few words so everybody can meet you a bit more?
Yes, well, that was good enough. Thank you so much. It's always nice to listen to what people are, how people are introducing you, especially in a non-conventional way. We all have the really nicely written bios, but yeah, you brought several topics. Thank you so much, and thank you for saying that I have the healing singing voice. I actually use both singing and speaking. Thank you. And it's just, I'm living my dream. The mastermind piece that you mentioned, and, I've been running this, I'm the CEO of the company that's called Kids Universe, which is the same as the TV show, the name for the TV show. But you nailed it. You said that I'm inspiring kids of all ages from 0 to 120, right? To go
Yes.
big dreams and really break through any possible limitations. Yeah. So thank you.
Yes. So it's so awesome to have you again to talk about turning challenges into possibilities. And for those watchers and listeners who haven't met you yet, I always ask at the beginning of the show, how did you get to where you are today? Just if you can give a small glimpse, because today you just mentioned you're living your dream, you do what you love, and you found access to your gifts, and it wasn't always there, but you
No.
basically have and are growing your dream business in big ways. Can you give a glimpse of your story?
Absolutely. Yes. I have the whole program and around that uncover your story. And I didn't know for a while of what my story, my own story was. The very little short glimpse into where I am today. It's funny that you were asking me it today because I was driving in the morning in my car and I was thinking if I was given a chance, like a time machine or a telescope, to look back at where I was internally and where I am right now, these are completely two different people. I used to be super shy, and the story circles back to my kindergarten teacher who not her, but we think that somebody comes and installs all these beliefs about ourselves. So mine was she hated me for, and I usually don't use the word hate, but in this case, that was literally, there was something that she didn't like about me, so obvious that for a child, for me, for the 5 or 4 year old, I couldn't understand why I can't get a smile, a simple hug,
Hmm.
from a person. And so it translated in my little brain into I'm not worthy, I am not worthy of even existing and walking this planet. And I started hiding. I was hiding not only from the world, but from myself too. And
Hmm.
not until, that's why I guess my path to spirituality has always been there. I was always searching for how come? Like, what did I do wrong? And there is no answer to that. So I was always drawn to explain, I mean, learning about and non-traditional methods of psychology. Very quickly understood that traditional psychology, it takes the whole life and doesn't really bring a lot of results, like practical results that I could apply in the moment. And so I went to, I graduated from Samara State University, which is in Russia. I was growing up in another country and was born in another country. And so when my professors looked at me and they said I was really good at teaching, at methods of teaching. I've always been a teacher, like as an identity. And they wanted me to stay and teach at the university level. And I said, I'm not excited about this level. I want to work with the little kids, and I couldn't explain why. So later, when I did all the coaching and I started coaching adults myself, that's where it circled back. So my story really, what can I give children from the very, very start, from the very beginning? And I look at all of us, you and myself, as a kid in this big body still. So how can I empower these people so that they don't go through what I had to go? Like, I truly believe, the last thing I want to add, I truly believe that we don't have to suffer to produce something beautiful in this world.
Yes.
Because it's just the premise for literature, for art, and yes, a lot is coming from that place, but we can create while being happy and connected and aligned with who we truly are.
Yes, that's a really fascinating question, because like we all have some hardship that we went through, and then that can inspire us to greatness, right? So there is a benefit of having that, but I love that you're also on the path of empowering others to shorten that and to give access to whatever you learn, like your gems, right? Like spreading those gems. That is so beautiful that you do that in all your work now and empowering others. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. That is so awesome. So let's dive into the key topic that I chose for today's podcast episode, that I'm so excited about, because it can be such a huge shift for everyone who does this, is masterminding. So do you want to open up and share your first masterminding experience, and like what inspired you to join one or start your own?
Well, these are two different questions. So if you don't mind,
pick one.
I can start, yeah. Well, we can start whatever you could pick whatever we want to start with. Why I joined one, and I actually joined more than one. I joined a lot, just like you, like we are all entrepreneurs. After having joined a lot of programs and I did receive the value. But then I decided to start my own one, and I'll tell you why. Can we get into this?
Yes, wherever you want to go. Yes.
So why I started my own one, because I couldn't find the missing component that in all the masterminds and all the coaching programs that I was in before. And I've done a lot. Like when I say a lot, it's like thousands and thousands of dollars invested with the big names and everything. And all of it, I'm very, very grateful for everything I've received. And maybe that growth, internal growth that I've undergone myself, brought me to the point that now I'm at a place that I can see what I can improve, which is a good thing. So I started mine, and here's is it okay if I talk about the benefits of any mastermind? Like,
yes. And I would actually love to. I just realized not everybody may be familiar with the term mastermind. If people are like still in the freelancing mindset or something. So do you want to give a description out of your view of like what is a mastermind, and then let's go from there? Yes.
So Mastermind, actually, I can give a resource, a huge, really beautiful resource. And I actually have that book right next to me. If you guys have never seen this book, I really strongly recommend to read it. So Think and Grow Rich. It's not, I mean, it's by Napoleon Hill. He was the first who could articulate the power of mastermind, and it's one of the sections in the book. In what he's talking about, because you will, once you get hooked on that book, you will be rereading it every year because there's so much depth to that, and it's very for spiritually elevated people. So in short, mastermind is when a group of people comes together. And even right now, Esther, when you and I, we are creating, like there are two people, two human beings, right, are talking. Yet there is the unseen component to that. So we create the third entity, which is the mastermind. It's like more than one people. More than one person, and when you have more than two people, like three, four, more people in a group, not just random people, but people who get you, who get what your big vision is, and they're really vested in your success. And you have the leader of the group and the facilitator who is holding the space, the safe, loving space, and also sees the overall picture, sort of like it's kind of a, you know how we do it, like with it's a bubble, but it's a magical bubble, which is bigger than all of us, that creates that field where you can totally manifest. And some people I know don't like the word manifest, but this is truly what is happening. So you first think the thought, and the thought desire materializes in something tangible. So you start with the intangible, and then it materializes into tangible. That's what mastermind does. And then it's a fast track to everything that you thought is possible, and even to something that you didn't know you knew is possible, if it makes sense.
Yes, that makes total sense. And I love your description. I love that you bring so much of the soulful aspect into it. That is something that I did not see in earlier masterminds that I joined, because I know there's all kinds of different types out there. And what I heard from you, and what I also see in masterminds, is it creates and amplifies your full potential and highest possibility. If you got the right mastermind group that is a good fit for you, that really feels aligned with who you are and where they see and empower you in a way that really lights you up and feels good. So that being said, why don't you share more? You were going to more into like why you started yours and how you see it different. You want to elaborate about that?
Sure. So I started mine because what was missing for me was the spiritual component. Because, like I said, to me personally, I very clearly, and you know how Wayne Dyer, one of my favorite people on this planet, who made the transition, but he's still very present for me. Um, he was saying, his last book is called "I Can See Clearly Now." So I can see clearly now, and I'm not in 60s yet, but I can see clearly now. I can see clearly that we, what we can see in the physical reality around us plays as much of a bigger role as the unseen. And the unseen is what I call the divine, which will include for religious people or not. It has nothing to do with religion, by the way. You could come from any religion, or you don't have to be religious to understand that there are certain moments in your life when you cannot explain why things happen, or you thought about somebody and you pick up the phone and that person is on the phone and you didn't talk to him for 3 years out of the blue. So how is that work? How does that work? It's what we cannot see. So in this equal like if you put it on the scale, to me it's 50-50. So yes, you do have to take steps. Yes, you need in a perfect, in a really, really powerful mastermind, you gotta have both. You want to have the step by step, but it's not your first step to have step by step. First, you have to have that other component and believe. You don't have to see to believe. You first believe it. And here's, Esther, it's a little bit on the side note. For entrepreneurs, you gotta be, I mean, even if I don't care if people are left or right brainers. if you go into your own business, and we're talking about impactpreneurs and your audience, right? Everybody who's listening, you guys want to play big, ladies, you want to play big. And some of us are still like cringing in our own system. We want to go, but it's kind of scary because, right? So what I'm driving at is we gotta believe before we see it, because the vision comes first. And then you materialize, because if you don't see it, the divine, this other component, this other. So this is how I define it. This is our divine team, which is the unseen. And on earth here, we have our dream team, which is the real people.
I like it.
So when you merge the two and they are playing in perfect harmony, like the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, what do? They have to intersect somewhere. If this is not happening, you're still lopsided, right? So you can have your EBCs, or you could have the step by step, but if you're not supported by this, or you don't see it for yourself, that's the internal game. This is the inner game. This is the outer game. It cannot be one or the other. It's always the two together. That's when magic happens.
I love it. Can I give an example to our listeners? Because I have, my own experience. I totally know what you're talking about, and I went through this, and I actually didn't have that balance at first. I was mostly coming from my head, and everything had to be rational. I had no spiritual connection at first. And again, like you, it doesn't really matter if it's like, if you call it one religion or another, or if you think metaphysical, just being open to the possibility of the unseen and curious, right? Before I have that, I was working so hard, and I was just trying to do things rationally, and it felt so heavy, and it didn't feel aligned, and like things were just really creeping along. And like once I started being more curious and finding that soulful aspect, then suddenly I found things that really work for my heart and me first, and feel good in my heart. And then comes the inspired action. So now I have the balance, right? Like I find the things that really work for me. Like I had to find my own super creative ways of doing things because the traditional systems just didn't work as is. I had to make it my own and live my own personal flair. So I love that you bring this up, that this is such a true component for you, how you create your possibility, and how you now also designed your mastermind. So do you want to share a bit more of like the magic? And you can also ask me, feel free to ping it back to me, because I am in your mastermind and I benefit so much. So let's talk that.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to say, Astrid, I want to say that once we started, remember how I personally, that was the grand vision for all of us in that mastermind, including me, that I want to see all ladies, it's only women so far, right? So to see everybody soar, like soar to beyond our wildest imagination. A lot of people are talking about it, but they're still operating from their own limitations. When you go past that stage and you hold that vision for everybody as a group and individually, the magic is happening when you, just like you said, for example, you are very creative. If you are going to follow somebody who is only step by step and logic operated, you're gonna suffocate yourself, and you're gonna put yourself in a box. And if you don't have the right leader, right, who will create a space for your creativity and embrace that, your own ways, and then support that, we can give direction, because everybody's opinion is different. You know, what is also important to understand, which I haven't seen in masterminds before. A lot of times, masterminds are created by the person who wants to create a platform for themselves. In other words, they create a platform where they want simply to speak and to do it from the authoritative standpoint. And kind of, has it ever happened to you? in Mastermind?
No, I had a different mastermind experience, but I'm sure that exists as well. So like, please share what you experienced. And
So
go ahead.
it's not even my. I mean, it's. I don't want to go into that. I just want to point out that the mastermind wisely, if you create it wisely, it's or you are a part of it. It's not for the leader of the mastermind to overpower
Right.
members. It's
Yes.
only simply to I already said it several times, to create the space in which the creativity, and you use that word, so
Mhm.
thank you, flows in
Yeah.
off the charts. What we've seen
Yeah.
you, what we've seen in other members, and sometimes they go a different direction, in their
Yes.
business, and it's
Yes.
like that's where the magic is. We also, how we seal it with the special mantra for
Yes, I
everybody,
love it.
and
Hmm.
so for me, it has that spiritual point. But if I had to ask you, like,
Yes.
why, what do you feel is different? Because you had mastermind experiences. So
Yes.
what is so different in ours? Because remember, sisters, remember how you're like, I'm already in masterminds, and I'm not
I
sure.
know. I had my limitations of like not seeing the value, but then I made myself curious. Oh, let me just stay and see what unfolds. And it turned magical. So yes, thank you for that question. I'd love to share. So first, my first mastermind experiences were like 2 years ago when I started to see the benefit of a mastermind, but I wasn't really putting myself first yet. I wasn't investing in myself yet. And I was pretty much being a cheapskate on all levels. I didn't invest in like trainings, but I wanted to grow big, and like I was living in scarcity that I created for myself. So I started a mastermind then, and it didn't really, it didn't really work powerfully. First of all, the people didn't really show up, and then I realized in hindsight that I was attracting other people who weren't also really saying yes to themselves, and they also didn't invest in themselves. So everybody was trying to reach for this bigger thing while not really saying yes to the bigger thing and not taking the action of the bigger thing. So that was my first experience, and then that shifted because then I started. This is where I met you. I invested in myself also and went into a bigger training program. That's where we both met for the first time.
Mhm.
So then I started to get surrounded by empowering, powerful people who also are really saying yes to their dream. And I think that was one of the first big ones for myself, that you have to say yes to yourself in some levels. Otherwise you stay surrounded by limitations, people and facts, right? So Okay, so that being said, then I moved into the next stage for myself. I found masterminds that came from that coaching program that I was in, and like people from there. But for me, those didn't work so well because they were only structural based. So it was kind of, at least that's how it played out and how we came together. It was very much, I felt like, oh, I have to, and I have to talk what are my wins, what is this, what am I doing next, and like a lot of people were talking about pressure sort of things. I felt like pressure for me. It felt very like a box, like you were saying earlier. So so then I found my spiritual side, right? And like I started creating my business by working with coaches that really see my potential, by talking to psychics, and just like being really in tune with what inspiration shows up for me as easy next steps. So I felt kind of complete. And then you showed up with your mastermind, and I'm like,
That's another
and I'm
thing.
like, do I really need this? Because I feel this is working. And then thank goodness I said yes, because it turned out to be the fusion of both, like you were describing it, the fusion of, yes, inspired actions, if it aligns, but really with that space where I can be myself. I can show up, and if I feel complete, I can just share like, I'm just setting my intention of, like feeling totally amazing and aligned and like of bigger goals or whatever. So it can be that as well. I have free flow carte blanche from you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I was
yet we
gonna
hold space. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add to that. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing, because I never truly asked you what what keeps you kind of being apart, and we are always like, nobody wants to miss it. That's the thing, nobody wants to
Yes.
miss our call. But two things that come to mind. Everybody in the mastermind is given the exact same power, and you feel empowered. And I, like every member is feeling empowered rather than like giving your power away, which is very common
Yes.
thing. We give the power away to the coaches and the leaders of
Mm-hmm.
different sorts because we think they know better. Hey, I just had an experience a month ago. It's a spiritual person. We had to go to the event, and to be specific, it was one of the monks, and I'm friends with him, and it's a yogi monk. And I thought I was looking up to this people in orange clothes and all of that, and I still do. And I, for some reason, gave them the power, like I diminished my own power. But when I saw the reaction when we were a little bit late, we're getting a little bit late, and there was no parking space, right?
Yeah.
And this person all of a sudden starts get irritated and so worried. And I'm like, hey, who is meditating? You or me? Yeah,
Oh, that's so
he
funny.
has a great, I love him dearly. And he has a great sense of humor. He goes, imagine if I didn't meditate. So that in that moment, I realized that yes, we are given, we can't give the power away because everybody who is in the human body, we can be more spiritually elevated or less. So everybody has their own path. And so this is crucial for me that everyone feels empowered and
Yeah.
with the same level of expertise. Everybody has a voice in
Yeah.
mastermind, and that voice is equally important, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
holds the space. That's one. And
Yes.
then the second one, because of that, it's the logical continuation. You tap in the immense wisdom, yeah, of the
Mm-hmm.
group, because
Yes.
that group, to me, the wisdom of that group is not
Yeah.
limited only to 4, 5, 6 people or however many people you have in your mastermind. It expands into the wisdom of the universe, and that's
Yeah.
why it's so powerful. And plus, remember how at the beginning I said we create another field which is invisible,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's what seals all of it. And
Yeah.
speaking, Astrid, just one more thing, because
Mm-hmm.
we've been talking about intangible. Yeah, I'm finishing, but it's very important. So people, your listeners might think that it's only about the intangible, like the spiritual game. If you look at it and see, even on the physical, what what has manifested in terms of money, let's say, where you were and where you are right now, and each
Yeah.
member of our group, it is a totally different game.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
didn't
Totally.
start with that. It just simultaneously magically happened. So
Yeah.
it brings the tangible, but you need both the
Yes.
intangible and tangible.
Yes, yes, yes. And there's so much more that I would love to dive into, but like we're running out of time for
Sure.
the radio show, unfortunately. But I do want to give like one last word, one last compliment, and like how I see your mastermind. I feel that it's just so important, like why it resonates to me. So I want to give you a word of gratitude that you invited me because you truly allow me to be me. I can show up and speak my truth. I can ask for what works for me, and that creates like you guys all let me be. And what I really love is too that this soulful component that every time we have like this manifesting part in it, where we're really like holding space for with a mantra, the intention, we feel it, and then we celebrate it, and oh my gosh, it just feels so strong in my heart. And I truly feel that we're co-creating with the universe in that mastermind. And you didn't mention it, but it's mastermind 444, which like is an angel number. So let's just end with like, if anybody feels inspired to hear more about Zhanna's mastermind, where can they reach you?
Oh, we can just simply connect to see if it's going to be the right mastermind for you. And if you're not sure what it's all about, we can have a conversation. Just if you go to my website, It's HB, which stands for hummingbird, hbacademytoday.com.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
just grab, I think it's gift number 1, just a 15-minute conversation with me. But if you want an extra inspiration, you can just simply grab a gift number 3, I believe, or 3 or 2. You can see it's the song that I wrote, and it's about the phrase that you kind of mentioned right now. You let
Yes.
me be. So this is what, just be,
Yeah.
just be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yeah, that's awesome. So check out Zhanna's website if you're curious. And if you don't resonate with this, but the topic inspired you, don't wait, because we all played small for many years, just trying to do it by ourselves. You don't have to play alone. It's not as fun and it's not as powerful.
Yeah.
So step into the bigger game and follow your inspiration and find the place that empowers you. Let's close it with that. So thank you so much, Zhanna, for showing up, and
Thank you.
money. Yeah,
Thank you. I
kissing
love
a
you.
wish to you, to all of you too.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Just
Okay.
be, just be.
Yes, yes, I love it.